And welcome back to Voice Talks. I'm Sofia Altuna and your host for this voice series. Today is our 7th episode of Voice Talks, where we're going to be celebrating the major accomplishments we made in 2020 and looking ahead to what's to come in 2021. Can you believe that it's already the end of the year? Just last March, we were feeling disconnected after yet another in-person event was canceled due to the stay-at-home orders. And we wanted a way for the community to gather with thought leaders in voice regularly and in a safe way. And so the idea of a monthly live series named Voice Talks was born. When my colleagues and I started thinking about who should be the host, I jumped at the opportunity. Voice is my passion, and I love getting to talk to you about it every month. But little did I know what I was signing myself up for. In just 6 short weeks, I was standing in front of the camera, hosting my very first ever live broadcast with all of you. And by ever, I mean ever. So I'm so thankful for all of your support in going through that moment with me. And I hope that you didn't notice, but I do have to admit that I was incredibly nervous. And in fact, you would think that by now the nerves would be gone, but at last, they always return in those 10 seconds right before we're about to go live. But we've been on a mission to make this show insightful, entertaining, and inspiring. No pressure, and we hope that it's something that would help us all stay connected. And I really want to thank all of you so much for being part of this journey with your comments, messages, and videos that have made this show better every month. And I also want to say a warm thank you to all of our guests that have joined us in each episode, sharing your knowledge and ideas with this brilliant community. And I haven't mentioned the incredible feat of the production team, who learned new ways to record safely and remotely. You want to know a fun fact? My producer, Jessica Cantor, who's in my ear right now, is actually in LA. And I just think that's crazy because from across the country, we're able to work together to be with you here today. And I've actually never even met her in person, yet we have so much fun rehearsing for every episode each month. Speaking of which, this episode is shaping out to be one of my favorites because we're going to recap what we've accomplished in 2020 and hear predictions for 2021. And in fact, all month we've been asking you to send us your predictions, and we're going to hear a handful throughout the episode today, and then at the end, I'll get to pick which one I think is actually going to come true. So let's start with this prediction from Alex Zumkwala.
Hi, my name is Alex Zumkwala, and my company's name is Spicy Key LLC. I think this is a great idea to share creative ways to integrate a smart home with other services. Let me share with you my most favorite integration. I love Google Calendar, and I integrate Google Calendar with my smart home so that I can make events on my calendar just with my voice. I'll give you an example. Sometimes I'll be on the phone and something spontaneously will come up about another event in the future a couple days from the phone call. I may not write it down because I'm a little busy, and writing it down in my calendar may take a lot more time than I really want to spend at that particular moment. With my voice, I can very quickly make an event on my calendar. And then I feel better because I'm managing my time well. And when I'm managing my time well, I feel better because I feel like I'm more productive. So that's my idea for how to creatively integrate a smart home with another service, Google Calendar.
That's a great voice use case that I know many of us use. And I agree that we're going to see even more advancements along these lines to help us all stay even more productive at our homes. Speaking about schedules, are you ready for what we have in store for you today? So to start, we're going to begin with a fireside chat discussing a year in review of voice with Danny Bernstein, Lilian Rincon, Beres Goldenkind, and Rebecca Nathanson. They're going to be discussing what their teams accomplished in 2020 and what they're looking forward in 2021. Then we're going to have a very special partner spotlight where we're going to be interviewing Naomi Makovsky about mobile partners that have integrated their Android apps with Assistant. Following, then we're going to also have an interview with Niranjan Kumar discussing games. Then we're going to have our product spotlight with 2 lightning talks discussing the impact of technical advances in voice with Kathy Pearl from Google and Eli Donson, co-founder and CEO of StatMuse. And finally, for the ecosystem update, we're going to welcome back Leslie Garcia Amaya, who's going to be joining Dr. Terry Fisher and Sachin Kumar discussing the voice community. But before we move into our next segment, I do want to set the holiday mood. So hey Google, turn on Christmas tree.
Got it. Turning Christmas tree on.
Thanks, Google. I think it's incredible that I can just plug my Christmas tree into a smart plug and now I can just start talking to it. But I do have a confession to make. I saw this in an episode of Ellen and I've just been really wanting to be doing it since. So thanks, Ellen, for this wonderful idea. I'm always also interested in different cultures and how they celebrate their holidays. So I tend to ask Google questions like, hey Google, when is Diwali?
Diwali was on Saturday, November 14th, 2020.
That sounds like a really fun November. Okay, hey Google, when's the first night of Hanukkah?
Thursday, December 10th, 2020 to Friday, December 11th, 2020.
Thanks, Google.
Not a problem.
It's tonight, so happy Hanukkah to those that celebrated, and we're going to be exploring how you can all be preparing a special dish for tonight later on in the show. But before we do, let's welcome our Fireside Chat to talk about all the amazing things that happened in 2020. Take it away.
Thanks, Sophia. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be back on Voice Talks, and I'm thrilled to have senior leaders from the Google Assistant product team participating as well. I remember the first episode of Voice Talks, which we started back in April, and it seems like decades ago. At the time, we were hopeful that Voice Talks would help provide a virtual community platform for all things voice and also allow us to share what we're doing at Google Assistant. And we are super encouraged about the incredible growth that we've seen, the enthusiasm, the comments from the community, having more and more companies involved. And we're excited actually to announce today that we're going to be continuing as a sponsor of Voice Talks into 2021. Today, I'm joined by 3 Google Assistant product leaders who you might be familiar with from past sessions. And they represent different perspectives on voice and ambient computing, including the consumer perspective, the developer perspective, the developers who are building for voice, for Google Assistant, as well as the perspective of the home and experiences that we build for the home, as well as on mobile. So Lillian, Rebecca, and Barish, welcome.
Thanks, Danny. It's great to be here.
Excited to be back.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Yeah, it's great to be here for back-to-back Voice Talks.
So with Google Assistant, we've had a really busy year with many feature announcements and real advancements on the journey to ambient computing. We've also seen so much momentum with developers, so much enthusiasm. And as you heard from us at Google Assistant Developer Day, we're excited to see all these new actions launching this year for the home and on mobile. And a few of my personal favorites, I love Guess the Drawing. And my kids love it. I have an 8-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, and who knew how difficult it would be to guess what Swiss cheese looks like? I think we need to maybe buy some more Swiss cheese around the house. I don't know. And then we also love Disney Plus. We love the archives, and it's just been a fun way to keep people, keep them engaged and occasional moments here and there. It's just super fun. But I'd love to hear from you all on a few key highlights from 2020 and maybe some thoughts on what we've been able to achieve with Google Assistant this year. Maybe start with Lillian.
Sure. was going to say too, the guess the drawing, I totally agree. I thought it would actually be a lot easier, but yeah, I'm very bad at it.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So this year, I think really has forced us to adopt new ways of many things, from working, parenting, interacting with each other, and so much more. What's been really interesting for me is just how much I've come to rely on the product that all of us on this call build day in and day out. For example, group video calling through Duo on our family smart display has become even more frequent as we just don't get as much face-to-face time with family and friends. And video chatting with Meet, of course, daily part of the work schedule. Overall, I'm really proud of the way that the team has mobilized. To say this was a crazy year is, not enough. It's been super unprecedented on so many levels. The work I think that the team rallied around, these helpful family features, at the beginning of COVID with the hand washing song, serving up the latest coronavirus news to make sure that people were informed. And most recently with the election results, I think has been really helpful. And throughout this period, we've really continued to prioritize content that, we feel is really diverse and inclusive, from supporting the Black Lives Matter movement from the very beginning, to Women's History Month, and most recently with cultural events like Hispanic Heritage Month. Also, I think throughout this pandemic, we've realized that assistant can be really helpful with families at home. And I think that's an area that we've doubled down on. Everything from navigating how we can help families learn at home, as well as working from home. One of my family favorites is Family Bell, which we use every single day in the mornings, especially just to get out of the house on time. Rebecca, what about you?
Lillian, my son has the hand washing song memorized. So I hear it multiple times a day at this point. So I joined the assistant team in 2020, and it's been fascinating coming up to speed and seeing how we are all adapting to this much more screen-centric world. I've definitely seen it in my own house as the number of screens and speakers we have has absolutely exploded. And as we've relied more and more on Assistant to keep our house running, to keep ourselves entertained, and to explain exactly what a narwhal is, which took a while. I've even started developing some of my own tools for running my family's house. I'm actually back to programming sometimes in my spare time. And when I'm not programming new ways to manage our home on our smart displays, we're playing games, we're learning together. Another big fan of Guess the Drawing here. Yes, definitely some of those are pretty tough. And we really love frozen stories. I think we may have almost worn them out at this point. So I've also gotten previews of upcoming games, upcoming stories over the next several months. And I can't wait for everyone to see what we've got coming out because it's terrific. And all of these new games, stories, educational experiences on the Assistant come out faster, and they're better when we streamline the development process. And that's why we launched a whole bunch of new tools in 2020 in order to help our developers. From Actions Builder, a web-based IDE that lets you build, debug, and test all of your actions on the web. Highly recommended, it's what I used. To Interactive Canvas, which lets developers build immersive visual experiences. And the Actions Testing API, which lets you programmatically test your critical user journeys. We've also made it easier for users to discover all of this amazing content. We've introduced new BIIs of Tell Me a Story and Teach Something to Me. And we've also introduced lobbies to showcase the breadth and the depth of the content in these areas. Barish, you want to share some of the stuff that your team's been working on?
So we started the year with the Read It feature. It allows users who are on the go to just listen to the web page that's on the screen. So recently I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and now in addition, I have been starting to save long form articles to listen when I'm exercising. And most recently, we've made the Assistant work for some of our most popular apps. This makes everyday tasks with an app much easier using your voice. So for example, you can say, hey Google, search for cozy blankets on Etsy, and get right into what you're looking for. Or if you're looking for something specific with an app, you can just say, hey Google, open Selena Gomez on Snapchat. My favorite ones are being able to quickly send money using PayPal or logging a smoothie on MyFitnessPal. I frequently also start my run on Nike using my voice or just search quickly inside most apps. In addition to all of this, we also launched the shortcuts feature that makes it easy for users to create custom phrases to issue these commands. So these are what we call app actions, and they're now available for all Android developers. Developers can do things like searching and deep linking, as well as use some of our 60 built-in intents in a broad list of 10 verticals like travel and shopping. And each developer can easily add a layer of voice now using these with just a day or two.
That's awesome. And I hope, Barish, that maybe you might be sending me a cozy blanket from Etsy. I'm pretty excited about that. It's really exciting to see all these announcements and advancements we've made. I think around our house, we use the Dunkin' Donuts app action pretty frequently. Whenever I want to be cool dad, I make a little Dunkin' Donuts run and use app actions and come back and to some pretty happy kids and wife. So at Assistant Developer Day in October, it was a really good opportunity and a good summary and a lot of the things that we're working on, a lot of things that we're excited about. And I think that inside of Google, inside of virtual Google now that we're on VC, there's just a lot of enthusiasm within the Google Assistant team about this sort of increased role that partners are playing in our products. And this is something that we're continuing to be really excited about, is just making more and more space for partners in the products we're building. But turning our attention to next year, what are some of the areas that excite you all most, and maybe some of the things that you'll be focused on? I'd love to hear from each of you and each of your vantage points on that. Maybe Barish, do you want to start?
So our goal is to enable users to naturally ask for things they're looking for and get things done across their phone. For 2021, I'm really excited for more partners and developers to be able to easily integrate app actions. And we'll also continue to make it easy for users to be able to discover app actions. We're, in addition, investing in making the assistant a lot more proactive and contextually helpful. Read It feature or time to leave reminders are good examples of this, and there's more to come in this area.
For consumers, we expect a lot of the habits developed in 2020 while sheltering in place will persist in 2021. As such, I'm really excited about our continued focus on families and households. Just this past year, we took great strides to help families connect with things like household contacts, which is the new digital speed dial, as well as keeping families organized with things like family notes. And of course, partners like Life 360, who are helping keep peace of mind around my family's whereabouts. As we think about 2021, I'm really excited about bringing even more partners on board to help our users with their everyday tasks. For example, providing help with communication partners like WhatsApp and Zoom, and entertainment with companies like Netflix and Apple Music. Also really excited about more nutritious and delightful experiences. I know, Rebecca, you mentioned Frozen. That's definitely a family favorite of ours. But also, I'm a big fan of ABC Mouse and Nickelodeon. For my kids, today, right now, like these couple weeks at least, they're really excited about these new interactive stories from Capstone, which remind me of my earlier childhood, where you could decide how the story unfolds, and they get to follow along word by word.
And yeah, I remember those stories from when I was a kid too, the choose your own adventure stories. I used to think they were awesome. I would actually read through every possible permutation. Creating great assistant capabilities requires great developer partners. And we believe deeply in the value of the ecosystem to bring Assistant to life, which is why we focus so much on investing in tools and features that will bring that great experience from developers to users and help them find the things that they're looking for. So we're really excited in 2021 to be bringing more ROI-focused tools around both discovery and monetization to the Assistant. Overall, I'm super excited about the things that we have in store for both the ecosystem and by extension, the entire world of Google Assistant. And finally, we've been working with a number of additional game, stories, and education partners to bring additional amazing content that I can't wait for everybody to see.
Yeah, we can't wait either. And it's just been such an exciting year. So much has gone on, of course, inside and outside of work, and such an unpredictable year as well. But I think that this Voice Talks has been a highlight, frankly. And it was just an idea. I remember at the beginning of the year, we were planning to see so many members of the voice community at conferences like Voice Summit or coming right out of Project Voice, where we got the chance to meet so many members of the voice community. And we just didn't anticipate, of course, that we'd be gathering like this. And I can just, speak on behalf of the Google Assistant team. We're just extraordinarily, grateful that something like this existed and that it works and that it seems to work for you. that we've also been able to get so many companies involved as well, not just Google. That's also definitely part of our vision, that there are more and more companies, including Amazon, including Facebook and others that are part of Voice Talks and part of lifting this ecosystem much more. So I would say that's what I'm excited about, is continuing to see the momentum, continuing to get to know the voice community and get to meet you all. It's really just the very, very, very beginning for voice and ambient computing. So that's it for me. But listen, thank you all so much for tuning in and for being part of this community. And thanks, of course, to Rebecca, Lillian, and Barish for being part of this episode and for participating in other episodes as well. Super appreciative of it. Signing off for 2020. And I hope you have a restful break, Voice Talks community, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Danny, Barish, Lillian, and Rebecca. Danny announced some pretty big news. Voice Talks will be back in 2021, and I cannot wait to see you again here from this same couch in my living room. We're so excited to experience all of these exciting predictions with you. And it's also really exciting to see how much voice has improved this year for developers, partners, and the users. But I hope that this is not just something that we're telling you, but that you're actually experiencing your device responding better and better every time that you're using it. So echoing some of what we might see in 2021, let's watch a prediction from Natalia Suarez, who you might remember from episode 4 when she showed us the action she's building for people living with dementia. We're excited to have you back, Natalia.
So what are my predictions for the evolution of voice technology in 2021? I think that we can expect more people buying voice assistants, especially in places where this wasn't very popular before. For example, Latin America. But most importantly, because we're going through this pandemic, I think that a lot of things are going to remain untouchable. And that's where voice will play an important role, because it will help us interact with things just by the use of our voice. I can expect it being implemented even in restaurants, in museums, in many places, public transportation. Voice is going to really change the way that we interact with regular things.
I agree that the pandemic has really provided a new perspective of the importance of this technology. And we're going to start using our voice to replace some of the ways we use touch, both in public spaces and in our homes. A great example of this, which was discussed in the Fireside Chat, is being able to move through a recipe with just your voice. So remember how I told you that I was going to get you ready for your Hanukkah dinner tonight? So why don't we look at a recipe for latkes? Hey Google, show me latkes recipes.
Here are some recipes I found.
Show me from the spruce seeds.
Here you go. Let me know when you want to start cooking.
Start.
There are 19 steps. I'll read them one by one. When you're ready to hear more, you can say, next step. First step, gather the ingredients.
Next step.
Second step, line a platter or plate with paper towels and set aside.
Next step.
Peel the potatoes.
Thank you, Google. Stop. I think it's pretty incredible that now you can find a recipe and go through it entirely without ever having to touch anything. And things are starting to heat up a little bit for me in this episode, and especially sitting next to this beautiful Christmas tree. So I'm just going to turn it off for a little bit, and then we'll turn it back on. Hey, Google, turn off Christmas tree.
Got it. Turning Christmas tree off.
Thanks, Google. Next up, I'm going to talk about what some of our partners have created this year and what we might hope to see in 2021. So let's welcome Naomi Makovsky, Head of Product Partnerships.
Hi, Sophia.
I'm so glad to have you today on this episode. I am lucky in that I get to work with you every single day on our mobile efforts. But for the people who are watching the episode today, can you give us a quick intro about yourself and the top 2 to 3 things that happen in voice in mobile this year?
Sure. So as Sophia mentioned, my name is Naomi Makovsky, and I lead partnerships for Assistant on mobile, focusing on enabling Android apps to work with the Assistant. Now, this year has been a focus on a product called App Actions, which lets users deep link into their favorite apps using their voice. And we're really excited about the momentum we've achieved by enabling any app to be able to integrate with the assistant. So in terms of my favorite moments in voice for the year for Google, well, last year at I/O, we talked about how App Actions would work across a specific set of apps. And the teams have been working really hard, and this year we've been able to launch App Actions such that any Android app can integrate with the assistant. Another bright spot of the year has been the launch of a product called Shortcuts, which lets users set their own personalized commands so they can engage with their favorite features or functionality within their favorite Android apps. And, I'm a big coffee drinker, so for me, this has been particularly exciting because I can now order my cup of coffee from Dunkin' a whole lot easier, saving myself some time and, of course, less brain space and whatnot before that first cup of caffeine. So went from being able to say something like, order my regular with Dunkin', to simply being able to say, order my coffee.
No, I hear you. And it's so exciting this year in October that we launched that App Actions can now work across any app. I feel like people need to see a demo actually to understand what we're talking about, to see how cool the experience is. And I know we've done this before, but I want to make sure to ask you, are you up for a challenge where you can actually use our product and I can search in the traditional way that we're used to searching today so that our viewers can see the difference?
Absolutely.
All right, so grab your phone, and then what is something that you've been using App Actions for lately?
Well, as you know, I got a new puppy, so been spending a lot of time on YouTube figuring out how to go about training her. So why don't we search for Zach George puppy training videos on YouTube?
Okay, perfect. So Naomi's gonna have her home screen, and then she's gonna be searching for that via voice, and then I'm gonna do it the traditional way. I'm gonna go find the YouTube app and then type it out, and then we're gonna see who finishes first. Naomi, when you finish, just pull your phone up to see who won.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Are you ready? We're gonna do in the count of 3, and then I'm gonna say go. So 1, 2, 3, go.
All right. I'm excited. Let's do it.
1, 2, 3, go.
Search for Zach George puppy training videos on YouTube. Done.
No, hold on. I'm still. All right,
puppy survival guides, first 36 hours, everything I need.
I love that. And I use this so much to search across my apps. Do you use as well, Naomi, right?
All the time. So what's exciting about this for us and for users is that it doesn't just work, of course, on Google apps, but it works across your favorite Android apps. So Etsy, Nike Run Club, Walmart, many others. They've implemented App Actions. You can use your voice to navigate to those specific features and functionality.
I'll show you more of these functionality throughout the episode today. And Naomi, before I let you go, so everyone today has been giving their predictions for 2021. So what do you say are your predictions for next year?
Yeah. So my predictions for next year, well, I think that we'll see Assistant continue to increase in terms of its helpfulness for the user by becoming even more proactive, even more predictive. And I think we'll also see it do so with even more third-party fulfillment as the platform and the ecosystem grows. Now, our vision for the Assistant, as you know, Sophia, has really been that the Assistant understands you. It understands you in any context, on any device. And we know that for it to be truly, truly helpful, it has to understand you and spot those opportunities before you even ask for it. We've also seen that the number of Assistant queries that are fulfilled by third parties has more than doubled. So, yep, I predict Assistant will be even more helpful, even more proactive, and doing it across the Android apps that we love.
That is incredibly exciting. We've been talking about proactiveness for a few episodes in Voice Talks, and I know a lot of our viewers actually always bring up proactiveness. So it's really exciting that that's where we're headed in 2021, and I can't wait to see more and for the technology to actually start working for us versus us always having to work for the technology. So thank you so much for coming to Voice Talks today, and wishing you happy holidays.
Thanks, Sophia.
Next, I'd love to introduce you to another one of my teammates, Niranjan Kumar, who's our gaming verticals lead on Assistant. Hi, Niranjan, welcome.
Hi, Sophia. It's great to see you. Thanks for having me here.
Of course. We've been talking about games since day one in Voice Talks because this year has been a really big year for games on Assistant, as many new partners have launched on the platform with visuals that weren't really available a year ago. So tell us a little bit about what has happened this year and what are your top 2 favorite things that have happened in this vertical?
Yeah, sure. I think first you hit the nail right on the head. I think the growth and prevalence of smart displays this year has really created some fun and delightful, compelling game experiences. I remember last year, most of the games were voice only and usually involved trivia and music related games. We've really seen a ton of growth this year with just different kinds of gameplay from partners all the way from ranging from voice developers to HTML5 game developers and of course mobile app developers. And I think having that visual component with the voice mechanic really lends itself to a fun experience. So I'm excited to see a lot of the new games that have launched this year.
Yeah, no, for me personally, I mean, I've been playing games on Assistant for a while now, and just seeing the quality of games that have recently launched on Assistant with the visuals, they just provide such a richer and like more immersive experience. So I really enjoyed it, and I've been playing a lot. So I don't know if you want to tell me some of your favorite games on Assistant, and then if you want to play one with me today.
Sure, I'd love to. I know we've worked with a lot of voice developers, especially in the visual space this year. Partners like Volley, Matchbox.io, and Just AI come to mind. One game in particular that I think we would have a good time playing right now is called Guess the Drawing by Cool Games. They are a HTML5 developer out of the Netherlands, and they built this game really leveraging the visual aspect of these devices. So I think that'll be fun.
I know, I've been such a big fan. I actually demoed this game in one of the Voice Talks episodes, but I'm excited that I have a companion to play it with today. All right, so are you up for this challenge, Niranjan?
Yes, let's do it.
All right.
Please go
Hey
easy on
Google,
me.
play Guess the Drawing.
Welcome back to Guess the Drawing. It's good to see you again. What would you like to play?
Daily.
No problem. Let's take a look. Which difficulty would you like to try?
Should we do normal?
I think normal's a
I
good
guess.
bet.
Normal difficulty? Sounds good. Let's guess the drawings.
All
Get
right.
ready.
Get
There we
ready.
go.
Just so you know, the mic will stay open for this part of the game.
Perfect.
You can stop or pause at any time.
All right.
Guitar. Cello. Violin? Woohoo!
Oh, wow. You smoked me. I kept thinking viola, and I was just thinking that's not enough letters.
Hey Google, stop.
Are you sure? Confirm by saying yes, or say
Yes.
no stars this time. You can always try again. All right, what do you want to do next?
Let's go home.
What?
Awesome.
Yep.
So thank you for entertaining us with this game. I don't know if you heard it at the beginning, but it was saying that Sofia, welcome back. That just shows that I played this game maybe a little bit too much, but no shame.
Yes, you. That wasn't even close. Looks like you've had a ton of practice. I think I got
Yeah.
set up here.
Yeah, Niranjan, I feel like you need to practice, and then if you're up for it, then we can do it again next year together.
I would love to have a rematch.
So, as we discussed, so much has happened in games this year. So, what do you think we can expect to see from this vertical in 2021?
That's a great question. I think the growth trend is going to continue, especially into 2021. From 2020, we saw just across the board on all platforms, usage on gaming has gone up to 30%, which is a massive number. And I think we'll continue to see that in 2021 as well, especially on innovative platforms like the smart display devices, because I do think the voiceless visual gameplay component is super compelling and really fun.
I know, I'm so excited. And I hope that we get some learnings from this holiday season. As more people are at home, they're going to be playing games, so maybe we're going to get feedback on what people like, they don't like. So I'm personally really excited to be playing with my nephews, and they tend to give me a lot of feedback. So I'm really excited to see what we learn and then see what happens in 2021 in this amazing vertical that has kept us entertained and that has brought a lot of happiness to our life during this year. So thank you so much, Niranjan, for being with us today.
Thank you, Sophia. And yes, I think over the holidays, I'll definitely be practicing a lot more.
Yes, practice. Bye, Niranjan. Naomi, Niranjan, I can't thank you enough for sharing your insider perspective on two key focus areas of assistance. I predict we're going to see a lot more advances in these spaces next year. The holidays has us all eating so much, and I just really don't want to get out of control. So I plan to use my FitnessPal through app actions, as Naomi and I were just discussing, to log my food. So let me show you. These candy canes, I'm pretty much addicted to them. I eat too many. So I always just pull up my phone, I squish it, log candy cane on my FitnessPal. And see, it takes me right into my FitnessPal. I don't know if I can show you, but it takes me right into my FitnessPal. It logs the candy cane, which is only 50 calories, good to know. And then that's it, and I record my meals. This, along with the runs that I track on Nike, and I can ensure I have both fun and stay healthy throughout this holiday season. Let's see another prediction from our community. So here's Caleb Pitts.
I believe this year was an awakening for creators. Artists, producers, voice artists, all feeling the call to create meaningful connection during this year where we've all felt particularly isolated. With that collective call for connection, we're also seeing people consuming more media and on their devices more than ever before. Devices designed to keep us connected to each other. But I think the future is going to be about people, not products. Meaningful connection as opposed to distraction. I predict voice will be implemented as the guidance that we used to have in person, in physical exercise, mental health, education. The fear that we've all felt across the course of this year isn't simply going to disappear. So I also see voice being paramount in how we figure out navigating our new world, opening doors, interacting with devices without having to touch surfaces, to spread information worldwide, build authentic connections so that everyone feels heard. What I hope will happen with voice tech in 2021 is that it rekindles our sense of community and togetherness, brings us more diverse voices and perspectives, and puts us on an inclusive path to meaningful change.
Kayla, you're totally right. It's all about answering the collective call for connection. I especially like how voice technology might replace some of the guidance we used to have in person. So thank you so much for your heartfelt response. And as I put this candy back on, I think I'm ready to have the Christmas tree on. So hey Google, turn on Christmas tree.
Sure, turning on Christmas tree.
It looks so much more better on. So next, we're gonna have our product talk. And this time, we're gonna have two lightning talks from Kathy Pearl and Eli Dawson, each discussing advances in technology and its effects on voice.
Thanks, Sophia. So, what's going on these days in speech recognition and natural language understanding? I'll share a few things that I'm excited about. First up, we recently launched a feature called Animal of the Day, which is a fun, interactive way for kids to have a conversation with the assistant about animals. It's dynamic, which means that the conversation won't be the same every single time. It's also user-led, which means it's up to the kid to decide how long they want to talk. 1 turn, 10 turns, it's up to them. When you're thinking about designing multi-turn conversations, it's really important to think about the context of the user. What are they doing? If I just want to turn on the light, I don't want to have a lengthy back and forth. But what if it's after dinner, I'm doing the dishes, maybe I'm in the mood for something longer, talking about my musical preferences to help me set up a playlist. Want to try it out? Just say, hey Google, what's the animal of the day? Another example where the assistant is being proactive is something that happened to me the other night. I was reading in bed, I was reading this book, Clara and Mrs. Tiffany, and I came across the word opalescent, and I realized, I don't think I quite know what that word means. So of course I said, hey Google, what does opalescent mean? And it told me the definition, and then it said, do you want to hear it used in a sentence? And I said, sure. And then after that, it asked me, do you want to know how it's spelled? And I said, no thanks, because I could already see it in my book. But that's another example where you really want to think about how you give that information to the user. You don't necessarily just want to throw it all out there, because frankly, not everybody wants that. So instead, start with the most important part, and then let the user know there's more if you want it, and let them decide. Google recently published a paper about our latest version of Tacotron called Parallel Tacotron, which uses a parallel method to more quickly generate text-to-speech voices. It's challenging to generate text-to-speech. Think about a simple sentence like, "Do you like my jacket?" Same string of words, how many different ways do you think I could say that? Do you like my jacket? 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 I mean, how is the computer supposed to know which one to use depending on the context? So projects like Tacotron are working on that problem. And if you want to hear some of these voices, we've left a link in the show notes and you can check them out. Lastly, I want to mention a new feature we're rolling out called Guest Mode. Sometimes when you talk to a Google Assistant, maybe there's an interaction you don't want saved to your account. You'll be able to enable Guest Mode with your voice and turn it off with your voice as well. And while you're in Guest Mode, what you're saying won't be stored to your account. But don't forget, even when you're not in Guest Mode, the audio of what you say to Assistant is not stored by default. And if you ever want to see what questions you have been asking Assistant, just open your Google Home app and check My Activity. And anything you want to delete in there, you can do so. Finally, if the Google Assistant ever mistakenly thinks you're talking to it when you're not, no sweat. Just say, "Hey Google, that wasn't for you," and it will delete the last thing it heard. That's it for me. Thank you. Take it away, Eli.
Great, thanks. Thanks for having me, everyone. Hi, I'm Eli. I'm the co-founder CEO of StatMuse. StatMuse is the leader in natural language search for sports stats and information. And as of last Friday, I'm excited to announce that we've now also expanded into search for financial information. We're going to show you a quick clip of that. All right, great. Thanks for watching that. Hope you enjoyed it. So as you can see, we've taken our best-in-class natural language understanding and natural language generation engine, which we initially started in search for sports stats and expanded it to finance. So for sports, we can answer questions around scores, schedules, stats, recaps, fantasy, odds, and we can do it, real time during a game, all the way back to the inaugural season. So, you can ask questions about 1876 for MLB, 1920 for NFL, so on and so forth. And for finance, the product is really about taking that same platform and expanding it to kind of the core financial information. So search stock prices, currency pairs, Bitcoin returns, and more. And it's kind of same approach to where you can ask a question, you give us the free text, what's the price of Apple stock, what's the return of Tesla year to date, what's the all-time high price of Bitcoin, whatever your kind of question is around stock prices or returns of any of the assets. And then we take an engine and we look up the answer to it, and we bring it back and we generate a multimodal piece of content. And that's kind of the core of StatMuse, which is that every search result is a piece of content. And we try and use natural language processing to generate conversational results for your sports and stats and information, and now for financial information.
Thank you, Kathy and Eli. Those are incredibly interesting. And let's see one prediction from our community. Here's what Leslie Pound thinks is going to happen in 2021.
Hi, I'm Leslie. I'm CEO and founder of Tada Labs. We do voice connected to query and real world data. I do think we will see more connection to data. I think data is doubling every year or every 16 months, depending on who you talk to. Data is coming from our lights, it's coming from our phones, it's coming from our cars. So we have this entire infrastructure of data and databases right now. And so we'll start to see people integrate more and more with that existing infrastructure. Voice in meetings, voice connected to real data, which requires a different type of NLU and a different type of understanding. Voice for business intelligence, and then voice in construction, I think, are where we're going.
Thank you for this, Leslie. I think that a perspective from the data landscape is so valuable. And I think that you're right. Voice in construction could make an incredible impact, even with simple home projects like just recording measurements or seeing a floor sample you like and then being able to place the order with your voice while measuring the space. it could really help make things a little bit more efficient. So thank you again, Leslie, and really to everyone that has submitted their predictions. Hearing from the community is really my favorite part about this entire show. And if you remember, last month we asked the community to tell us how voice adds magic to their lives. And I even called my Uncle Fernando, who told us his own magic moment of how he likes to ask Google the history of the food he's eating, which actually reminds me of a gift that I've been wanting to buy for him for the holidays. So hey Google, add the book title Edible History of Humanity by Tom Sadash to my shopping list.
Sure, I added the book title Edible History of Humanity by Tom Sadash.
Thanks, Google.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Sometimes give ideas just come to me at the oddest times, and I find that adding them to my list at those exact moments is better because it's a really great way to make sure that I don't forget about it later. So if you're still deciding what voice-enabled gifts to share and to buy for the holiday season, take a look at our gifting guide. And perhaps one of our moderators can just paste it in the comments so that you have easy access to us. Up next, I'm incredibly excited to introduce our guests for their ecosystem update, because I've enjoyed seeing just how much they contributed to the voice community this year. So it's an absolute pleasure to welcome, and really an honor to welcome back Leslie Garcia Amaya, who you all know by now from multiple episodes of Voice Talks. And she's going to be joining Dr. Terry Fisher, the host of The Voice Den, a reality show where you can all live chat with influential personalities in the voice community. And then they're also going to be joining Sachin Kumar, the creator of the popular developer series Tech with Sachin. So let's take a look.
Thanks, Sophia. Hey, everyone. It's great to be here with you all today back at Voice Talks. I'm joined today by Dr. Terry Fisher and Sachin Kumar. I'll have them introduce themselves a little bit more in just a second. First of all, a little bit more about me. I'm on the Google Assistant Partnerships team, and I lead the meals and finance verticals. And so what does that mean? It means I work with partners like Food Network and All Recipes and celebrity chefs like Aisha Curry to enable their content to surface on Assistant.
My name is Terry Fisher. I like to say I'm a physician by day, and I'm a voice tech enthusiast by night. I'm the founder and host of the Voice in Canada podcast and Flash Briefing, and as well the host of The Voice Den, an online reality show, I like to say, where we feature some of the voice influencers. I've done a lot of stuff in the voice space, really just to share my enthusiasm about what voice technology is doing really for society and how voice is becoming the next operating system. So, like I say, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Sophia. And I look forward to this discussion.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. Sachin, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Leslie. First of all, I would like to really thank you all for actually inviting me to the Voice Talks. And I'm actually privileged to be part of this panel and to be part of these two incredible voice leaders in the voice tech industry. So that being said, once again, my name is Sachin. I'm a Google developer expert. I head the Google developer groups in Doha as well. And I'm also the Chief Technology Officer of Tubular Life, which is a connected healthcare company based out of Dallas, Texas. I do write a lot of tech articles. I do blog. I'm an active mentor for a lot of startups in the region. And recently with the pandemic, I've also started a YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, Sachin. I don't know when you and Terry sleep because you clearly have a lot of passion for voice and you're doing so much in the space to advance it. So really appreciate you both being here today. So I want to start off and have us talk about, if you look back at 2020, it's been quite a year. What do you think have been some of the most significant developments in the voice ecosystem? And I'll start with Terry to kick us off.
Yeah, thanks. Well, 20 years has been an extraordinary year, as I think we all can agree. And for me, what really defines 2020, I think for a lot of us, is COVID. And as a physician, this really hits home for me quite strongly. It's really interesting when we think about how history repeats itself. We go back 100 years, almost exactly 100 years, and there was a world pandemic, and there was devastation. And we're experiencing this now a century later. But the difference is that now, fortunately, we have technology. Imagine what it was like 100 years ago when they didn't have all the technology that we had and trying to get through a pandemic. But now with the technology, and specifically voice technology, where we're able to interact with devices in our home and stay in touch with other people just by the sound of our voices, we're living in really fortunate times. The fact that we're able to use voice and get health information or do screening about concerns that we have, do I have COVID? I wake up with a cough and a fever. I can actually talk to my device and start to do some of that healthcare history taking that a physician would do, but I can do it in the home. We're starting to see that these smart speakers are actually decentralizing healthcare and making it more accessible to more people because these devices, fortunately, are so inexpensive. And so this is something that I've been speaking about as being actually the silver lining of the pandemic, where we're actually able to embrace technology, and technology is making our lives easier, and it's also actually helping us to stay in touch and get better care and more efficient care in a more timely manner.
So the first thing is the app actions. The ability to access certain features within your existing Android apps via Google Assistant is a huge feature. So we were all waiting for this and it's finally here. And the second thing that I personally like is continued conversations. So instead of actually saying, hey G or hey Google, every time to have the conversation, now I can have a series of conversations without actually having the wait word. And the next one would be my personal favorite, which is the interactive canvas. I would highly appreciate, and I would love everyone to actually try it out for in the voice tech. The interactive canvas is a platform built on top of the Google Assistant, which will allow visual immersive experiences for conversational actions. So voice is actually a pretty powerful medium, and adding a visual cue to have more immersive experience is what Interactive Canvas brings to the board. And finally, I would say the biggest feature drop for 2020 would be the Actions Builder and Actions SDK. So finally, we have conversation designers and developers working together using the Actions Builder and Actions SDK.
Yeah, thanks, Sachin. I really couldn't agree more on the App Actions launch. And if I kind of combine what you're saying around App Actions and how developers have been waiting for this launch, and then what Terry's saying about COVID, and you think about all the ads that you hear for how to keep your phone clean and bacteria-free, especially in the times of COVID. And so now you can say, hey Google, check my accounts on Mint, like I said, and then get directly, into the app all by voice. You're not touching anything on your phone. So I do think that the launch came at a really good time. And then from a women in voice perspective, I think that we're seeing, more women flock to the community. And in fact, there's an anecdote of women who heard about women in voice and decided to change careers or start their careers in voice because they saw that there was this community of women that they could tap into. There were people that looked like them that were working in this space. So I'm excited about the progress that Women in Voice has made in 2020. We are 20 chapters in 15 countries and growing every month. We have over 100 ambassadors. So it's just been awesome progress to see this past year. So yeah, let's take a look forward and into 2021 and beyond. I'm curious, Sachin, I'll start with you this time. What do you predict? What do you think we're going to see more of, less of in the voice ecosystem?
I think my predictions would be from 2021, what I would like to see is more of a multimodal approach. As I said, voice is a pretty powerful feature, but I feel a combination of voice with different surfaces actually helps a much more immersive experience. I would like to see more actions built using the interactive canvas. So that's something that right now the interactive canvas is for games, and I would like to see how that extends to other industry verticals as well. And finally, I would say one of the other things that I would like to see from a developer standpoint is for companies to align themselves to kind of come to a point where we have the same ecosystem of the tools, basically, developer tools where developers can build once and deploy to multiple platforms. So interoperability is something that I'm really looking forward to. At the same time, keeping native exclusive features, just like what we mentioned about the Actions Builder and Actions SDK.
not being a developer myself, I think of more of like, how is it going to impact our lives? And again, if I kind of relate it back to the pandemic that we're going through, it's interesting. Again, a century ago, coming out of that pandemic, there was what was known as the Roaring 20s. And it's just so fitting that here we are starting the 2020s. And after that pandemic, a century ago, there was such economic growth and such prosperity. And I think that when we get through this, we're going to see that type of growth here, with technology having been accelerated in its adoption during this year. We're going to see more people really taking hold of voice technology and bringing it into their homes and embracing it for all the reasons that we spoke about already earlier. But I think we're actually going to have the roaring 2020s, which is amazing when you think about roaring. How do you roar? It comes from your voice. And we're going to be embracing that. I can't wait for the time when we can actually get our medical care from our devices, and it takes pressure off the healthcare systems. We know the healthcare systems are so overworked, but when you can talk to your device and say, here's how I'm feeling, and it can actually give you care, it's amazing. I believe that we're all going to start using our voice as our operating system.
And I totally agree with you, Terry, because I come from a health tech space as well. So I truly believe that voice is such a natural way for the patients to engage with each other. For the patients to actually engage with their care plan. So that's something that as a company, as a CTO, I've been exploring for quite a long time. One of the features that I would really like is the compliance and the security aspect as well, coming to the voice tech space.
Yeah, thanks, Sachin. That's actually where I was headed with kind of my predictions are around security and privacy. It's one of the number one questions I get from finance partners, and we know that users really, really care about it, as they should. And so I think that we will see more advancements in this space. You think about the communal device of the smart display on your kitchen counter. You have a number of different people in your household using that device. How do you ensure that their information is protected if there's a sensitive use case around banking, for example, that they might be wanting to use? So I think that we'll need to see continued advancements in how we think about that. I also think, to Terry's point around COVID, imagine how you interact in the outside physical world. I think that there's going to be less touching and more talking. From a women in voice perspective, I'm really excited about the opportunity to see more women building voice applications for women building for women. And I think, there's anecdotes that we could point to. One that comes to mind is the launch of a health app that did not take into account monthly cycles for women, tracking your monthly cycle, which seems kind of default if you ask a group of women. And so I think it's just one anecdote, but when you have women building these voice applications, you address those kinds of things, and we know that diverse teams build better products. So I think we'll continue to see more of that for sure. Like I said, growth of the Women in Voice community. And you can learn more about it if you're interested by going to womeninvoice.org. All right, so to close out this discussion, I'm going to put Terry and Sachin to the test and do some rapid fire Q&A. Terry, let's start with you. What's your favorite game on Google Assistant?
Song quiz. I play with my family. We have lots of fun, and my kids beat me every single time.
Love it. Nice. Sachin, what about you?
I would say trivia. I play with my family, and I would also say Cookie Detective. It's a wonderful example of the use case of interactive canvas.
Nice. And for me, it's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I love playing that game, and I find myself getting really competitive in it. All right, second, Sachin, starting with you. What's your favorite routine that you set up on Assistant?
Let's go to work. So I have a lot of these home automated devices. So when I say let's go to work, it will automatically give my daily traffic updates along with the news, and then automatically lock my smart door. So that's one thing that I do.
Nice. Terry, what about you?
Pretty simple one, but it's a lifesaver for me. Just the routine of adjusting my volume of my devices automatically so that at night it's not screaming back to me and could wake up everybody in the home. And same thing in the morning, it brings up the volume so that at least I can hear it when it's talking to me. So pretty simple, but it's a lifesaver.
Yeah. And for me, it's similar to Sachin. My husband set up a routine that I kind of chuckle at because when he says work, it turns on his lights. And also he has 2 TVs in his office where he can see what the Nest cams outside of our house are showing. What is a way that you're using Assistant today that surprises you, that in a way that you thought, oh, I didn't realize I would use it for this? Sachin, what do you think?
I think that would be the broadcast feature. So my wife, most of the time she keeps her phone on silent because she's taking care of the baby. So one of the ways that I could really reach out to her is only using the broadcast features.
Nice. And Terry?
I'm surprised. We're actually using it with our family as a whole when our kids are sitting down and doing homework. And so if there's some reading and they want a definition, they ask, or if there's some simple arithmetic for more complex mathing, they can ask that. So it's actually helping with homework, which is great. We all sit around and use it together.
Very cool. I'm +1 on the broadcast feature. I find myself using that to talk to my husband versus picking up my phone all the time, and we love it. Next question. What is one thing you wish you could do using your assistant, but you can't yet do today? Terry, starting with you.
Vocal biomarkers, being able to hear our health and being able to diagnose things just from the sound of like a cough or something. And actually, there's research being done on this, and I believe it was in episode 2 of Voice Talks that somebody from Voca.ai came on and talked about that research. So that's really exciting to me. So I look forward to seeing that in the future.
Very cool. Sachin, what about you?
I think for me it would be, I would like to see duplex come into more parts of the world and also extend its functionalities. Along with that, I would also like to have a digital avatar to the voice that we're interacting with.
Yeah, super cool. I think +1, I want the assistant to be able to set up more appointments for me with my doctor, my dentist, my vet, just make it all happen behind the scenes and I just show up. So to close us out, last question, what is a Google Assistant action you're using but you didn't realize you needed it in your life? Terry, over to you.
This one saves me money, so this has got to be the winner. Find my phone, because in the past, when I would misplace my phone, I'd have to start bribing my kids to help me go search for it because I desperately needed it. And now, well, unfortunately for them, I can ask Google Assistant to help me find it. Saves me some money.
Nice. Sachin, what about you?
So I actually started up setting up my curtains to automatically open at 7 a.m. in the morning, but I ended up using close the curtains action every morning to just close it up.
I love it, and I'm sure it's going to change in the future. For me, it's, hey Google, lace up my Nike Adapts. I never thought I'd be using a voice command to tighten the laces on my shoes. Pretty awesome. So unfortunately, that is all we have the time for today. Terry and Sachin, I really want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a really lively conversation, and I've learned a lot about each of you. So with that, I will hand it back over to Sofia.
Leslie, Terry, and Sachin, thank you all so much for the incredible contributions to this ecosystem that has matured so much in 2020. Between the responses to COVID, the inclusivity for women in voice, and all the new features that we've launched, from app actions on mobile to the native approach, building experiences that really bring together designers and developers. I've also had the incredible honor to participate in the Voice Talks, and it's a really unique way to ask questions and talk live with people that all love this technology as much as we do. So thank you, Terry, for being today in Voice Talks. I've equally enjoyed so much being in your show, The Voice Den. And I couldn't agree with you more, Terry, about your prediction for 2021, that it will be the roaring 20s for voice, with rapid growth and innovation. If there's one thing I really cannot wait for, is to be back here with all of you in 2021 to experience this really exciting time ahead. And with that, it's time to end our last episode of this year. And I want to thank our incredible guests this month, Barish, Rebecca, Danny, Lillian, Naomi, Niranjan, Kathy, Leslie, Terry, Sachin, and Eli. What an amazing group of thought leaders. Thank you all for sharing your experience and insights, and we look forward to seeing how many of your predictions come true in 2021. Now let's talk about our incredible Voice Talks crew, who have innovated over all this month with new ways to record us, using new remote techniques, and ensure that we all stay at home while doing this amazing show for you guys. I am floored every month by the concepts and ideas and the execution. So I'm excited to no longer thank the mysterious crew behind the scenes, but to actually show you who they are. So let's take a moment to meet them and congratulate this team.
Hi, my name is Ashwin Karohari, and I'm part of the Global Product Partnerships team at Google.
the same team as our lovely host, Sofia Altuna. Back in March, when we were trying to figure out ways that we can stay connected and engage not only our partners, but the broader ecosystem, I had a chance to brainstorm with Pete, and then 6 weeks later, the first episode of Voice Talks was born. And when we launched Voice Talks, we tried to follow a couple of basic principles around, one, making it a two-way conversation, wherein the users and the viewers are an extremely important part of making the content useful and relevant. So we encourage a lot of viewers to share their feedback and participate in the online poll that we do during the episode. And the second thing was to make this platform available to a broad set of our partners in the ecosystem to come in and share their innovation and what they are doing in this space. A couple of things I fondly remember about this journey over the last 6 months is how quickly we have been able to establish kind of a pattern of engagement with our ecosystem where everybody finds it valuable. So in a large part, I would say, hey, our viewers and our community and the ecosystem of partners have embraced it. So for me, it is nothing better than being part of an ecosystem where we are all trying to do the right things. So thank you to all of our viewers and our partners and our speakers. And the second thing is we've been able to accomplish all of this in a very virtual way. I'm in Seattle, Sofia is in New York, Pete is in Virginia, and our producers are in LA and San Francisco Bay Area, and then one of our core team members is also living and working on a boat. So thank you to everybody involved, and we're really excited about what we were able to accomplish with Voice Talks in 2020, and we really look forward to being part of Voice Talks in 2021.
Hey there, I'm Pete Erickson. I may be one of the creators of Voice Talks, but I certainly can't take credit for all of the wonderful production that's happened this year. And I can't take credit for you, the viewers. Tens of thousands of you have tuned in from around the world, and we are so grateful. I hope you have a warm and safe and healthy holiday with your families, and look forward to seeing you on a future episode of Voice Talks. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
That's such a fun video to watch, and I really feel so lucky to be part of this incredible crew. I have so much fun as we prepare for every episode of Voice Talks and during all of our weekly meetings. And I cannot thank you enough for making the show a reality, and for the passion, excitement, and creativity that you all bring every week as we prepared for every new episode. So sending a special thanks to each and every one of you. And before we leave, I do want to turn my attention back to you, the Voice community. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. Connecting with the Voice community really makes Voice Talk special, and you've personally made my year a whole lot better. As a token of my gratitude, we're going to be giving devices to each of the predictions we shared on today's show. So Kayla, Natalia, Alex, and Leslie, did you hear that? You are each going to be getting a Google Assistant device. I started Voice Talks with a very awkward open moment. I don't know if you all remember. But today, I can confidently say this is a Sofia moment. So we hope that you enjoy your smart devices and that you get to be entertained and delighted with them throughout your holiday season. And with that, happy holiday, everyone. Be sure to sign up on Voice Talks for special announcements and our schedule for 2021. But until then, stay safe, healthy, and don't forget to let your voice be heard. Ciao!